Hello, everybody. Welcome to Live at 5. It is Wednesday, a two-show day. Just saying. July 24th. I'm Beth Stevens.
I'm Paul Wontorek.
And we're here in the studio with Miss Caitlin Moynihan.
Hello.
And her jazz hands. And we have a fabulous guest today.
Well, speaking of two-show days, didn't you just come from this very show?
I just saw the matinee. I'm kind of a hashtag matinee lady. Ato Blankson-Wood is here from the Rolling Stone at Lincoln Center Theater. Yes. And we will talk to him soon. But first, our top 5.
This long-running show is having a Broadway tour switcheroo.
So Beth didn't watch Three's Company growing up, apparently, but
My
I
mother
did.
thought it was inappropriate. Going on.
I did, and Richard Klein is amazing because he was Larry, who was always down at the Regal Beagle, and now he's Old Joe. He went from Larry to Old Joe. What a journey.
Time marches on.
Remember when he was supposed to be Liberace? That was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
I remember.
He's in Waitress. You know Old Joe, Waitress. He had been playing the role in the national tour, and now he's in the Broadway production. Speaking of Larry's, replacing Larry Marshall. So explain this. So now they're swapping. Larry Marshall's going on the tour. Is this what?
Yeah, so Larry Marshall's going on tour. Richard Klein's coming to Broadway, and then they're gonna go back.
They were like texting each other, and Larry was like, "I really want to go to that city, and can you come do the show?" I don't know if it really works
I'm
like
sure
that.
it was them
I think it's
texting
a little.
That's how it works.
I think there's contracts and stuff. But anyway, Richard Klein was previously on Broadway in City of Angels. That was a good show. November, Mary Stewart, Narrow Down to the Deep North. Don't know that one. 12th Night, and The Crucible. Wow, that's a lot of range.
That's a big
when
range.
When you add Larry into the mix, it's a lot of range. As we know, Waitress is concluding its run on January 5th. I'm sorry to bring down the room for all you fans. And Allison Lupp and Mark Evans just joined last night.
Yeah.
So some fresh faces over at the, what's that theater, the Atkinson?
The Brooks Atkinson
Brooks
Theater.
Atkinson. Welcome back to Broadway, Richard Klein.
And what's the dealia with this vlog news?
We have a new vlogger starting next week.
Who is it, Beth?
I will tell you. It's Leslie Kritzer from Beetlejuice.
She's funny.
First of all, her Instagram account is like a vlog anyway because she's so
Oh my God, her Instagram story,
prolific.
She's doing the agent character.
She's very funny.
Hilarious.
The name of the vlog is Seize the Deo because, Beetlejuice.
Deo. I'm
you.
seeing it tonight.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, go say hi
Fun
to Kritzer
fact.
for us. It starts on July 30th. It runs for 8 weeks. We'll get to see all the goings-on backstage at the Winter Garden Theater.
We have been wanting a Leslie Kritzer vlog for a long time.
Yeah,
so
because she's hilarious.
She's going to be great. Yeah.
And we've got all the tea at 5.
Very
Clever.
good. Very nice.
At 5.
At
Wow,
5.
look at you.
And it's live. Go on.
So here's the tea. I didn't. You know when you announce certain things on this show, and I think like, is that ever really going to happen?
Yeah, you get your hopes up too much.
Well, so Faye Dunaway, who is a legend, not just for Mama
And an
Dearest,
Oscar
but
winner.
for like a lot,
Oscar winner.
Oh, of course, Bonnie and Clyde, and she's had an amazing career. Just look it up.
Mm-hmm.
So she was supposed to come to Broadway in Tea at 5, playing Katharine Hepburn. Matthew Lombardo wrote this play. It was first on Broadway in 2003 with Kate Mulgrew, Off-Broadway.
Off-Broadway.
And this is supposed to be the Broadway debut, and they just finished. So and I was like, that's never going to happen. And then all of a sudden there were photos of her, and I was like, oh, it's happening because they did it up in Boston at the Huntington Theater Company, and it just ended. And they just announced, let me put the wording right, the producers of TF5 announced today they have terminated their relationship with Faye Dunaway.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
That wording is not, it's not even like creative differences. They just said terminated. So it's not coming to Broadway.
No.
So it was announced for Broadway, not happening. The new plan is to do it in the West End with a new actress playing Katharine Hepburn. Kate Mulgrew would be good.
She knows the lines. Probably.
I don't know. Anyway, we're sad that we're not going to have this legend on Broadway. And I don't know what happened, but I'm sure there is some tea, as Caitlin mentioned.
And this Tony-nominated show is going across the pond.
Okay, remember the last production of Noises Off, Michael Frayn's fabulous farce?
There's always a production of Noises Off.
This was the Broadway one directed by Jeremy Herrin. It's now going to the West End. New cast, but same production. It's currently playing a sold-out run at London's The Lyric Hammersmith, and now it's moving to the Garrick Theatre. You know where that is. It's near Leicester Square. Of course you do. So reprising the roles will be Mira Sayal, Lloyd Owen, Daniel Rigby, Simon Roos, just a bunch of wonderful British actors, and it will play a limited engagement from September 27th through January 4th. I feel like that's Noises Off should always be playing in London.
Sure.
Yes.
And this world premiere has found its cast.
So get this. This play is called Our Dear Dead Drug Lord. Catchy
Aw,
title.
that is so sweet.
And it's about a bunch of teenage girls who gather in an abandoned treehouse, as you do, to summon the ghost of Pablo Escobar.
As one
Who's
does.
a drug lord. That was a drug lord. Look him
thank
up.
you.
Google him. Anyway, so we found out some of the casting. Alexis Shear wrote this, sure to be fascinating play. And the company will include Malika Samuel, who was recently in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Carmen Berkeley, Daniel Duque Estrada, Alyssa May Gold, and Rebecca Jimenez. And Whitney White will direct. And this all starts on September 11th and opens September 24th.
Fascinating.
What else, Beth?
It's a very Beetlejuicy day because in addition to our Leslie Kritzer news, Alex Brightman went side by side with Susan Blackwell.
It's new Susan Blackwell season. So we're going to have 6 new episodes of Side by Side over the next 6 weeks. Exciting guest, TBD. No, to be announced. It's already been determined. B is determined.
No, go on. We want to hear more.
TBA.
Anyway, Alex Brightman and Susan Blackwell are currently on the site. And we also have photos of the Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice had 100 performances.
So I'm going to the 101st performance.
So mazel
Or
tov.
second, because I did a matinee.
Beetlejuice, right? 102.
Is there a cake
one
for
torque
the
in the house.
102?
Only if you bring one. Also, Younger is getting older
Oh.
at TV
Yeah,
Land.
Younger, 7 seasons?
7
It'll be
seasons.
7
It's been renewed for a 7th time
Amazing.
with our dear Sutton Foster.
And we're not losing her, though, because she's coming back next year.
She's coming
And
back.
Man, I'm just saying.
She would never
Calm
forget
down.
us. I was getting upset. And the Broadway Cares Flea Market will be on September 22nd in Schubert Alley.
Okay.
That's the news. That's the tea.
I'm going to get
Thank
out
you.
of here.
Okay, because Ato Blankson-Wood is here, and he's a very talented individual. Will you tell us about our guest, please, Caitlin?
Gladly. Yes, we do. We have Mr. Ato Blankson-Wood here with us today. He is currently starring in the American premiere of The Rolling Stone at Lincoln Center Theater. He has appeared on Broadway in Hair and Lysistrata Jones, and his additional stage credits include Slave Play, 12th Night Transfers, As You Like It, and more. To stay up to date on this New York American premiere show, be sure to follow LC Theater on social media, and please leave all of your questions in the comments below. Please welcome Ato and Beth.
Thanks, Caitlin. Hello, Ato. I
Hello.
saw you literally 2 hours ago.
Well, nice to
You
see you
seem
again.
like you've recovered well. It's a very
Somehow.
emotional play, especially at the end.
Just a little.
But you seem a lot happier now.
Oh yeah, I've got my orange shirt on, got some sunniness going on, you know.
You look very sunny. I know that this is it was done in London,
It was,
but this
yeah.
is the New York American premiere. So I know that people probably don't know a lot about the play. So tell us a little bit about the play.
Okay, well, the play is set in Uganda, circa 2010 or so, which and it's based on real life events. There was this paper in Uganda called The Rolling Stone, which was outing gay people in Uganda. And
it's against the law there.
and it's against the law. People were jailed. Your family could be jailed if they had knowledge of you being gay. And yeah, people were jailed for like up to 14 years, I think it was. And yeah, families could also get jailed for anywhere between like 4 and 6 years just for being related to a gay person. So
Wow. So that's what it's about. Yet it's weirdly funny at times.
yeah, I mean, there's a family that's at the center of this story. I have an older brother who is a pastor, and then a younger sister who is just kind of like a smart and lovely human, and she we're kind of like stuck in between religion and sort of exploring this
Who you
part
really
of
are.
my identity. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is it like forging these sibling relationships on stage?
Oh my
because
God.
you really feel the love and the frustration that you might feel in real life too.
Truly, and that's I would say that's like 50% acting, 50% acting, because I love them and they are like my siblings. So we like immediately had this chemistry. And yeah, and it's just so much fun to play with them. They're such great actors, LaToya Edwards and James Udom, who play my siblings.
And James is really an eldest child, and you're really a middle child, and
Latoya's
Toya's really a youngest child,
truly.
and they are in the show as well.
Life imitating art.
So do you have that middle child anxiety thing? You know, the
I do-
forgotten middle child.
You know, I
you have
do-
5 children, right?
Yeah, I'm one
Okay.
of 5.
And you're in the middle.
I'm right in the middle. Oh, how do you know that?
I know things. I want to hear what went down on Ivywood Lane.
Oh my!
What?
She
I
knows
know
the
her
street?
address.
Oh,
yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell everyone, you grew up in Maryland.
I grew up in Maryland. Yeah, right outside of DC. You too?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, we're gonna have this whole like Maryland thing now.
in like a really lovely suburb, Silver Spring, and it was just like a really quiet and kind of idyllic childhood, and like, yeah, I just loved growing up there. I say if I ever hang things up and decide, acting's not happening anymore, I'm like gonna buy a house in Maryland and just like
And
make
have
that
5 children?
happen. Have 5 children.
Yeah.
Actually, absolutely not. That was the fact that my parents did that is insane.
So when in this idyllic childhood did you decide you wanted to be an actor?
I did my first show when I was 8 years old. It was Johnny Appleseed. It was the second grade play. I played Johnny Appleseed. I had to split the role, but it was with my best friend Nathan Young. So
You had to split the role, like sometimes you were Johnny and sometimes he was Johnny?
he was first act Johnny and I was second
Oh, I
act
see.
Johnny.
That's not confusing at all, I'm sure, for the audience.
Yeah, so I remember being on stage, I have a picture from the finale that I take to every dressing room with me, just to remind me like that was the first time I was on stage, and I was like such a shy, quiet kid, and I can be pretty reserved in life, but that was every time I get up on stage, it was like someone else came out. And
Wow.
so I just kept it going after that show. So I started at 8 and like every year did shows at school, and then in high school started doing shows with the community theater. So and decided.
But
wanted to keep
you
it
have
going.
been working. When did you come to New York?
I came to New York. I went to undergrad here. I came to New York in 2002.
And then very soon after that, and you went to graduate school at
Yeah,
Yale.
mhm.
But you did hair, you did Lysistrata Jones. You were like, I mean, you have so many credits. You've been working.
Yeah, I've been really, really fortunate. So yeah, I feel super lucky about that. Yeah.
And of course, he can sing.
I
And
do
in
that
the Rolling
sometimes.
Stone, there's a little bit of singing. Myra Lucretia Taylor
I
lets her
mean,
voice
legend,
be
legend.
heard. So you get to have a little moment where you
I
get
do,
to sing
yeah.
out.
I do. And my first love will always be musicals. Like there is something that just happens, like, in that number when everything swells and the chorus is about to go. Like my entire body gets goosebumps still to this day. And I will always be a musical theater dork at heart.
We love the dorks. And speaking of dorks, I know that you guys have questions, so put them in the comments below. We're going to get to them in a second, but I have to ask you about a really buzzed about play that you were a part of, Slave Play,
Yes.
which was at New York Theater Workshop and
Yes.
has now been announced for Broadway. The cast has not yet been announced,
not.
but you were a part of it for a long time.
I was.
Tell me about that.
I actually went up to see the workshop that was done up at Yale.
Jeremy O'Hara's
Jeremy
playwright,
O'Hara's the
and he was like a
playwright.
second-year
That
student.
was his second year project. And having gone through that program, like I can just say that like you don't get a play like that in that second year project. I saw it, I was bowled over. I actively pursued the play. I was like, I have got to be part of this play. I have to do whatever I have to be in the room. And it
What
worked
made you
out.
go up to see it? Was it already being buzzed about?
It was being buzzed about.
Really?
And I had met Jeremy a couple years before, and have you met him?
I've not met him, but he's quite a presence on Twitter.
That and like in
And
person,
just in everything, yeah.
like you meet him and you're like, who is that? So like I was very excited about him as an artist, so I wanted to go support his work, and so yeah, I went to go check it out.
So like I said, the cast hasn't been announced, but would you like to be a part of it?
I would love to be a part of it.
We're just going to leave that there. We'll leave it there. Fingers crossed. Caitlin, are there questions from our viewers?
Definitely. So James wants to know, what was it about the Rolling Stone that made you want to be a part of it, and like what like really drew you in as an actor?
Well, there were two factors for me. The first was I had wanted to work with Sahim Ali for quite some time.
The director.
Yeah, he's the director. And we had done a reading like right when I graduated from Yale, and just circled each other for years since then. And so the timing was perfect. Also, I wanted to play a queer African person. That was very important to me, just as, that's a lot of my lived experience, and I wanted to bring that to the stage, and I felt like I had a lot to offer to the role, so that was what was exciting for me about it.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about your lived experience. Your parents are from Ghana.
Yes.
So, but But you were born here.
I was born here, yeah.
And were all your siblings born here as well?
All my oldest sister was born in Ghana, but the rest of my siblings were born here. Yeah.
So in doing the Ugandan, obviously a completely different country, but in doing the Ugandan accent, were you drawing on anything that you knew?
Oh, for sure. There's like a musicality to a lot of African dialects, and that I feel like I was able to like draw on. But what was really difficult was just like the small shifts. They're just like it was all detail work, which can sometimes just be a little bit more difficult. But yeah.
It's interesting to tell a story that's really a very human story, just about relationships that then has this political dynamic to it as well. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the actors can be aware of the political dynamic. The characters just are not, and they're ultimately just pursuing, you know, those like very human relationships. And so I think I did a lot of research. I learned about the play. You know, at table work, we talked a lot about what the political situation is in Uganda now. But I think ultimately when working on it, I just focused on like the very human to human relationships. Yeah, and sort of let the political side of things just happen, you know.
Some of my favorite parts of the play were when the characters were describing what they like about each other or what they don't like about each other, and it's just tiny details that only a lover or a sibling would even recognize or understand about each other. So it's very much, people think like here like Uganda and they're like, oh, this is going to be a political drama. It's such a psychological, personal piece.
Totally. Yeah, and we were really lucky to to have Chris Urch, who worked on this play, and bring that much heart to it too, you know. So.
Definitely. A playwright to watch. Caitlin, I interrupted. Let's hear some more
You
questions.
are totally fine. Let's go with what you guys were talking about. Elise wants to know, what is one thing that you hope audiences take away when they leave the theater after seeing The Rolling Stone?
Wow. I mean, this is going to sound totally cliche, but I ultimately, something I think my character walks away with is that like love is the answer. That is all there is to it. I mean, it's really difficult to see any amount of love in the rhetoric that says that because you are gay or love who you love or that you are somehow wrong. I think that there's no love in that, you know? So I think that ultimately I hope people take away that like love is the answer.
Speaking of love is the answer, what are your memories of hair? Peace and love, people.
Yeah. Once a hippie, always a hippie.
That tribe was tight, right?
So tight. We still have a group text that
it's like 10 years later.
It's 10 years later. When the blackout happened last week, there's a line in Hair that's New York City blackout, and someone texted the group text New York City blackout, and we just all sort of like, you know, just like went down memory lane together. I love those people to this day. Like, they are some of my best friends. I'm still close with many, many of them. And those who I don't see, if I were to see them on the street right now, it would be nothing but love. I had such a great time working on that. It's my first real job. So I have such fond memories of it. So yeah.
And casts that get naked together, you know, they stay together forever.
Forever.
I just want to put it out there.
Speaking of musicals, Sally wants to know if you could be in a revival of any musical, what musical would you want
Pippin.
to bring back? Oh,
Pippin, leading
Don't have to
player.
think twice about it. Yeah, it is a role I feel like I will chase until I finally get to do it. Yeah.
be Pippin in Pippin.
No,
leading player.
Hands
That's
down,
the role.
best part.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I did that. I did it in high school, and
You were the leading player
I was
in
the
high
leading
school.
player in high. Actually, I did it twice in 1 year. I played the leading player and Pippin, and
Wow.
that's why I can say
Not just
prefer.
first act leading player.
No.
I'm just pointing it out.
Full. There was no Nathan Young.
Sorry, Nathan, wherever you are.
And I just love it. I love the score. I love that like he gets to be this like mischievous like bad boy. Yeah.
Look at your eyes got all bright about that.
Oh yeah, I
A
love
little
that
spark
show.
in
I
there.
can't wait. You know, and when the revival came up a few years ago,
And Diane Paulus, who you know from
who
Hair.
I know from Hair, and Patina Miller played the role, who
Right.
I also knew from Hair.
Right.
I was like, all right, I can't really be mad. Patina's like so dope.
But maybe if she needed like an alternate on a Wednesday.
Yeah. I would have like hopped in there. I would have been like happy to do it. You know, Even in full drag, I honestly don't care. Like, I honestly
Speaking
don't
of drag,
care. Yeah.
tell me about the
The Yale Drag Array.
Yes, the
Drag Array.
I saw a picture.
Yeah, it's called the Yale School of Drag.
He's getting a little blushy.
And I am just like a little bit, but it's like it's so crazy because for me, drag was like just also because I was doing it in the grad school context and I was in an acting program at that time. It just felt like another character. It just felt like putting on another character.
What was your drag name? Did you have one?
I have two that I cannot decide between.
Oh, well, we can let the people vote if you want.
Great, yeah, please. My first is Ama Reed, A-M-A Reed, heiress to the Dwayne Reed fortune. And then my other is Grace Moans because I am deeply inspired by Grace Jones. So I don't know either one.
We like Grace Moans. Okay. we're getting some audience feedback. All right, we have time for one more question.
Okay,
Caitlin.
last question. And so, yeah, Megan wants to know, what was your biggest Broadway obsession growing up?
Ooh.
Were you into musical theater growing up?
Oh, deeply.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good.
Well,
Good to know.
okay. You know what? Interestingly enough, Oklahoma was one of my big Broadway obsessions growing up. When I was about seven, which is why I started doing musicals around 8, my mom would take us to the library and we would we would get books, but we would also rent movie musicals. And we watched every Rodgers and Hammerstein musical there was. And I loved Oklahoma. I loved the score. I loved everything about it. So yeah, that was my big musical theater obsession.
That was the
as a
one you
kid.
wanted to listen to over and
Over and over and over again. And that is still the case today with this current revival, over and over and over again. I love that cast. I love
And
that
if you could have
revival.
any part in Oklahoma,
Aunt Eller.
something to look forward to in the future.
Solid.
A little bit on the horizon.
Yeah.
A little bit on the horizon.
Yeah.
Ato, it's so great that you're here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Guys,
having
go
me.
see the Rolling Stone at the Mitzi E. Newhouse Theater. It's Off-Broadway at Lincoln Center Theater. Caitlin, will you take us out, please?
Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We are live at 5 every single weekday here on Facebook. You can listen to us wherever you get your podcast by searching for #live at 5 and hitting that subscribe button. Be sure to tune in tomorrow and talk to Giselle Jimenez of Wicked.